Grace and peace, everyone. This is Leslie E Redmond, and you are now tuned in for another episode of Don't Complain, Activate.
Too sick, but we definitely had to have her.
I know
She
that
blew it
never
down
helps
the
anybody, but I would even argue our education system, our healthcare system. I'm not interviewing anyone, which is very rare because I love hearing the very valuable stories that everyone has to share. And for those of you who do not know, Don't Complain Activate was actually created in 2016 when President Trump was sworn into office. And really, it was all about me seeing such despair and people feeling like they didn't have power when I was surrounded by powerful people, and recognizing that politics really is local and it's your school board members and your city council members and your mayor and your local representatives and your moms that are involved in the school systems and the dads that are coaching the football and the basketball team and the churches and the faith community and just all of us together. We really have the power, right? And Don't Complain Activate is really about that. The idea that you don't have to be President Barack Obama or Beyonce Knowles Carter in order to activate your community. It's everyday people that are transforming the world. And I believe we are in one of those seasons again, right? Where our country is at a turning point. And again, this is definitely not about politics for me. Life for me is always about people, right? And, as a believer, as a kingdom building millennial, as I've coined myself, I'm really committed to doing whatever God wants me to do, right? I have completely surrendered my life to God. It is not my own. And it is a journey, it is a walk, but I am committed to walking that walk, right? And what does that look like? A couple months ago, when I came to you all, I was talking about David and how much David and Saul's relationship, it really it really helped me to grow, and it helped me to have forgiveness in my heart, and it stretched me. And for those of you who don't know, I'm reading the full Bible this year, which has been really exciting. Just got finished with Ezekiel. I just finished Daniel as well. And Ezekiel was a little longer. It was a little more dense. But Daniel was one of my favorite books in the Bible, right? And Daniel was such an activator, right? Daniel was such an activator. And I want to share with you all 4 points that I took away from Daniel. There's so many points to take away, right? But the 4 points that I really took away, I kind of wanted to just share them with you all, right? So Daniel starts off really in his Kendrick Lamar bag. They not like us, right? They not like us and we not like them, right? And so for me, the very important message was that we are in this world, but we are not of this world. And what I'm talking about is when David, or not David, but Daniel, who is a servant of the Lord, who is from the tribe of Judah, right? Who is really a believer. And when he comes to the king's palace and when he is amongst others, a lot of us say when in Rome, right? Do as the natives do as the local communities do. But that is very dangerous, right? It is very dangerous for us to take on the characteristics of others versus standing true in who we are. And what I love so much about Daniel is when he had access to what the world would call the best, the finest meats, the finest wines, he said no. Right? He said, no, I'm not going to eat your meat. I'm not going to eat your wine. And he didn't do it in a disrespectful way. He didn't do it in a harmful way because Daniel, I love these two so much. I intertwine them. But Daniel, he really already had favor amongst some of the king's people, and they were really worried about him. Like, oh no, like you should eat what everybody else is eating so you can show up well for the king as well. And Daniel said, well, listen, let me and my three homeboys, right? Y'all know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He said, let me and my three homeboys, like, let us do our fast and our diet the way that we want to. And we don't want to eat the meat and we don't want to drink the wine, right? Let us do that. And then at the end of it, if we are not in better shape than everybody else, then okay, right? But at the end of it, they were in the best shape. They were wise. They were able to answer all the questions. They were clear mind, clear heart, clear spirit. We know that fasting is really, really important. We know that what we put in our body, what we consume in all aspects, is really what's going to manifest, right, to the surface. And so it was so powerful to see Daniel stand his ground, right, and to say, they not like us and we not like them, right? And no matter what environment he was in, he stayed true to himself. He stayed true to God. And that was just such a word to me because I am recovering from being a people pleaser, right? Like that's a real thing for me where I am really stepping into believing in myself and knowing that I am the head and not the tail, and I'm above and not below. And my confidence is not conceit, like the world tried to tell me, but my confidence truly does stem from God above, right? And that God wants to use me and that I want to be used by God, right? And so I'm really excited to see what God is going to do in this season. And I am very encouraged by Daniel being able to be steadfast and to say, listen, they not like us and we not like them. Second lesson from the book of Daniel, if you all are just tuning in, and we're talking about how Daniel is an activator, right? And so the second verse or the second lesson that I really took away was when the king was having dreams that no one else could interpret or know. And in fact, he wouldn't even tell them the dream. He said, in order for me to know that y'all not just selling me, craziness, I want y'all to tell me what my dream was and what it meant. And they said, well, you're asking us for the impossible, king, right? Like you're asking us for something that nobody could give you, right? And nobody but God is what they should have said. If they knew better, they would do better. And Daniel knew better. And so he went to God and asked him for the understanding and asked him for the wisdom, right? And God gave it to him in a dream. God told him what King Nebuchadnezzar's dream was, and then also helped him to know the interpretation for it. And this made Nebuchadnezzar a believer, right? It made him a believer in Daniel's God and the wonders and the miracles that could happen. And not only did it bless Daniel, but it blessed his three homeboys, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And that's a word for somebody because when you get blessed, it's not going to just bless you, it's going to bless everyone around you, which is why you want to be intentional about who you even allow around you. For me, I've realized a lot of time God won't even bless me with certain things if I'm around the wrong people, right? It's not that he's withholding the blessings, but he just knows, hey, Leslie, they can't come with you, right? I know that you want to be graceful and you want to be kind. However, it's not kind to deprive yourself of your destiny, right? That's not a kind thing to do. That's not a kingdom thing to do, right? And so we want to be intentional about our walk. We want to be intentional about who is walking with us. And going back to the dreams and the wonders, God will plant things in our spirit and give us insight that is super secret, right? That nobody has access to. And this is how we are set apart. And this is why it goes back to the first lesson that we're not like them, they not like us, right? And we have to be very careful and intentional to be set apart and not to want to move with the crowd because we'll miss our blessing in the movement. And so God has really been telling me, slow down, be still, be intentional, right? Third lesson I want to talk about in the book of Daniel. So many people are familiar with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because you think about the fire, the furnace. You think about the fiery furnace, right? What did they say? They said the burning fiery furnace. When you think about Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, that's what you think about. You think about that burning fiery furnace. And how many of us have ever been, or some of y'all listening right now might be in a furnace, right? You might feel like my life is on fire and not in the best way possible. But I want you to know that it is in the best way possible. I want you to know that all things are working for your good, right? And that you serve a God that's going to be in the furnace with you, right? it was so powerful because, okay, so let me give you a little bit of the background story on the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these are Daniel's three homeboys, right, who have already been promoted and have high ranking because of Daniel's interpretations of the dreams before. Now they implemented, the king did, some rules where basically everyone had to pray and praise these like gold and silver and these trinkets that they came up with, right? And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was like, no, like I only pray for my God. And then they said, okay, well, hopefully your God could get you out of the furnace. You know, how people be talking trash, like, okay, you a believer. Let's see what your God can do. Let's put him to the test, right? And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had so much faith, they stood on it. They stood on it and they knew, oh, my God can do anything. My God can deliver us. My God, y'all don't know about my God in the parting of the Red Sea. Y'all don't know about my God and what my God has done. My God is a God that sits high and look low and can use the shepherd boy to take down Goliath. My God is a good God, right? And many men have fallen. And it's not about strength and it's not even about knowledge, because God will use any and everybody to get his message across, to get his work done and accomplished, right? And so they were such strong believers and they were standing on that faith. Like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, they knew that God would deliver them. And because of that, the king was even a little bit more upset, right? That they had so much faith. He said, turn the furnace up. And they turned the furnace up so high that the guards that were walking them in, they burnt on fire just from being close to the fire. How many people know that the shoes that you walking in, many people couldn't walk a day in your shoes. Many people couldn't walk a day in the furnace that you've had to walk in. Glory be to God that he has made you so carefully and so intentionally, and that he wouldn't put more on you than you truly could bear. And when people are looking from the outside looking in, casting judgments upon you, know that they don't even know no better. Because if they knew the furnace that you was going through, they wouldn't have nothing to say. Because just like those guards, they might set on fire and be dead, right? And so when they went in the furnace, the king said, wait, didn't we send three people in? And the people said, yeah, we sent three people in. They said, then why is there four people dancing around the fire, unharmed, untouched? Because the Lord is always with us. The Lord is with you right now in the furnace that you are in. God is not going to leave you or forsake you, right? And that's why we have to walk by faith and not by sight. That's why we have to be very intentional. And God, I just thank you for what you're doing right now. For everybody under the sound of my voice that may be listening, it is so important for us to realize that when we talk about activation and activating, we have to know from which our power comes, right? And if you don't have a relationship, and if you don't have some type of grounding and something that is anchoring you, right? No matter what the religion is, no matter what the faith is, I pray that you believe in a God, in the God that's going to turn it all around for you, right? And when I think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, it's just a powerful story of how, first they will be mad at you. First they will try to, because again, mind you, unjustly, right? It wasn't like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego had done anything wrong. They haven't. Right. And again, how many brothers and sisters do we know right now in the penitentiary that are there at no fault of their own? Right. And so not only were they at no fault, they put them in the furnace. Now they dance around in the furnace. The king's like, wait, 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 take them out. And he takes them out. And not only does he take them out, but now he's a believer. He believes in their God, right? Which he should have already, right? Because of his past interactions. But he believes in their God. And now he tells them that he's going to actually promote them. So first they'll put you in the furnace and then they'll promote you. That's why you can't trust this world. I'm telling you, that's why you cannot trust this world. You better trust in the Lord. Amen. You better trust in the Lord and put your faith in the Lord. Do not put your trust in this world. Do not put your trust in the leadership. Do not pray for leadership, but don't put your trust in leadership. Right. And fourth and final, right, I want to talk to you about the story that everybody knows about, right? When we think about Daniel, we think about Daniel's in the lion's den, right? We think about the fact that, and again, I just want to take you all through the story a little bit. Similar to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the furnace, right? Daniel did not do anything wrong. He did not do anything wrong to go into the lion's den. It was actually a very similar situation where people were hating on him. They were envious of him. And again, reading the Bible helps to put life into perspective so much for me, because there have been so many times I felt like, God, I didn't do anything. Like, I genuinely didn't do anything. That's why I'm at the point in my life where I'm not clearing nothing up, because God knows my heart, and people that know me know my character. And whatever y'all are going to do, whatever stones y'all are going to throw it. Right. And so, Daniel was a friend of the king. Right. And this is now King Darius. Right. And again, we're going to outlast many politicians and many leaders, and the leadership is going to change, and that's okay. Keep your faith in the Lord. Okay. So when they created this, basically like a statute or rule, and it said that no one could pray during this time, right? And Daniel prayed. Daniel knew about the statue. He knew what was going on. And again, that tells me a couple things as I sit here today. This is actually the anniversary of when I was arrested for Breonna Taylor, right? Many of you remember 4 summers ago when Brother George Floyd was murdered. Also, Breonna Taylor was murdered, and I lended my platform to Breonna Taylor in a protest going on in Louisville, Kentucky, and I was arrested. And so sometime we have to stand outside of the systems, and we have to go against the systems, and we have to do what, quote, in quotation marks, is wrong in order to right these wrongs, right? And so, yes, technically, Daniel was outside of what was legally right, but we have to understand that there's a difference between law and ethics. Right? Just because something is legally wrong does not mean that it is morally and ethically wrong. When we think about slavery was lawfully right, which means that Harriet Tubman was a, quote, in quotation mark, criminal, right? Discrimination and segregation and Jim Crow used to be the laws of the land. And so at some point we have to decide that I'm more committed to my faith. I'm more committed to being ethically right and being on the right side of history than legally right. Right. And that takes courage. And that's what Daniel was willing to do. And even though the king did not want to put him in a lion's den, he had already signed on a piece of paper. So people will trick your friends into going against you. People will trick people in power in order to go against you. But I want you to know that favor ain't fair. Favor ain't fair. And so no matter what they do, victory is yours. And how differently will we walk if we understood that victory is ours? How differently will we talk if we understood that victory truly is ours? Right? And so when they put Daniel in the lion's den, you all know the story, right? That God will close the mouths of the lions, right? And when you come from out of the lion's den, it gives you a different testimony. It gives you a different power, a different authority, a different walk, a different talk, right? And God is going to make a table in front of your enemies. He's going to make a table in front of your enemies that your enemies can't do nothing but respect at this point, right? Because I was favored when you found me. I'm going to be favored when I'm out of your sight and you don't even have access to me anymore. And again, this is why it's important that we realize don't complain, activate. That the activation starts from within, and activation is all around us all the time, right? That we have to be the people that God created us to be. That this is not about man or woman or about people's personal egos or politics. Back in 2012, I had lunch with President Barack Obama, right? I was a junior in college and I was registering people to vote. And for me, this was very important because if you know my story, my grandparents are from the South, North Carolina, South Carolina, Houston, Texas. Some of them had only a 7th grade education. And I grew up seeing that voting was very important, right? I grew up seeing that this is something that has been intentionally tried to be taken away from us, and it is very important that we take advantage of it. Now, what I also realized was that not everybody had a meaningful connection to voting or a meaningful opportunity to vote a lot of time we don't know the politicians. We are living in worlds where it's like we're invisible into a selection season. And I don't put that burden on people in poverty trying to survive. I put that burden on the people who have said that this is their job. All of this money, millions and millions of dollars go into these campaigns that could be utilized to combat gun violence and to figure out how these guns are even getting in our community in the first place, could be used to increase the programming and resources in the inner city, could be improved to get these drugs out of our community and get treatment for people who are harmed, could be used for mental health and wellness in our community. But instead, literally, we're just trying to convince people who already vote which way to vote, when what I'm more interested in is activating people who typically don't vote because the voting process has failed us so many times, right? And for me, we have a real opportunity. And in order for us to take advantage of the opportunity, that we have to stop playing defense all the time and we have to actually start to play offense, right? We need an offensive play. We need it. At this point, we can't just keep waiting for who they give us. We can't keep going to somebody else's table. We got to have some ownership, right? We have to take advantage of the power that we have. And when I think about, for instance, even the entertainment industry, and rest in peace to Prince, this is the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. And I actually had an opportunity to go to Paisley Park and have a tour. Shout out to Rico and KMOJ for that opportunity. It was really amazing. And, I think about Prince and when he went by the symbol, and the media coined him the artist formerly known as Prince, and he would walk around with slave written on his cheek. And the next album that he did once he was free was Emancipation. And just him understanding at a young age, because you all think about it, I didn't realize this, Prince was only 27 years old when he opened up Paisley Park, right? When he had already had so much success and so many opportunities, and he brought it home, right? And he knew that we have to have ownership, or what did he say? You have to own your masters, or your masters will own you, right? And it's very important for us because a lot of the time, people always say history repeats itself as if it's inevitable. It's not inevitable. We just keep doing the same thing. So, of course, history is going to repeat itself. And again, it feels like the powers that be keep us moving and grooving and so depleted and so tired and so exhausted that we don't even have time to really think through, hey, what decisions am I making? Why am I making them? What is my purpose behind this? What is my ultimate goal, right? And what's the strategy that I need to be taking to get there? And a lot of the time, we're not thinking that through. And again, it's not our fault. A lot of time, we don't have the time to. But what I want anybody that's hearing this to know is that it is time for us to, they're attacking woke, but we know you need to wake up. You've been in a slumber too long. The world is rocking you to sleep on social media and entertainment every day, and we're getting so far away from humanity. The reason why I have brought up President Barack Obama in that meeting with him was because I said to him in that meeting, I said, I cannot wait to the point where we get to the point in life where it's not, I'm a Republican, so I have to be against the Democrats, so I'm a Democrat, so I have to be against the Republicans. But we ought to get to the point where it's I'm for Americans as a whole, and beyond that, I'm for humanity as a whole. So let me say that one more time. I said we have to get to a point where it's not I'm a Democrat, so I have to hate everything Republicans say. I'm a Republican, so I have to hate everything that the Democrats say. And more so, I want to do what's right for America as a whole. And beyond that, I want to do what's right for humanity as a whole, right? We have to get to that point where it's not just about politics or racial lines or economic lines or faith lines, right? And realize that there's only one race, which is the human race, and we have to band together, right? We have to band together. That's the only way, to me, that we move forward. And we need to be fighting to emancipate humanities, right? And when you think about technology and the powerful impact that it's having on this world, you can't help but to think of the Matrix. And I don't know how many of you have seen the Matrix, but I encourage you all to go watch it if you haven't already. But it truly is time for us to wake up. I cannot say that enough. And again, nobody's coming to save us, right? Yes, the presidential election is important. Your local elections are even more important. Beyond the elections, to me, beyond the elected officials, it's the people every day in the world that's changing the world. And even the way we talk to each other, the way we talk to ourselves, mindset shifting has been so important to me, right? When I think about a scarcity mindset or lack mindset versus an abundance mindset, and knowing that there's more than enough for everyone, and anything that we want really wants us, and we just have to be more intentional about what we want and what we think of ourselves. When I think about myself, I always saw myself beyond where I was, and it's been so time consuming and so draining, the work that we do a lot of the time. I'm realizing, hmm, Leslie, you got to get back to dreaming. You have to get back to believing. You have to get back to understanding that you can't be in fight mode all the time, or else you just become a soldier. And that's not to minimize the role of a soldier, but I'm a visionary. I'm an artist, and I can see the world beyond what it currently is, and I can dream and create the reality that I dream. And so it's very important for us to take some time. It's very important, especially right now. I encourage somebody to delete that social media app off of their phone, to put their emails on mute. One of the things that I actually started doing, it's been a couple years now that I've been, I think, looking into it and thinking about it, but really observing the Sabbath on Saturdays. And I have some of my really good friends, Jeff and Ashley, 7-Day Adventists, and I used to go to church with them on Saturdays sometime when they would preach, but never really thought too much of it. But as I've really gotten into the Bible, I realized the Sabbath is not actually optional. It is mandatory, right? For us to really take this day with God and to not do work. And so on Saturdays, I observe the Sabbath and I do not do any work at all. On Sundays, I obviously go to church and I am very reflective. And actually, on Fridays, I'm now implementing Wellness Fridays where I do things for my health. I went and got a colon cleanse. I did acupuncture. I went to the gym. I just really am committed to taking care of myself because it's important. It's important not just for myself, not just Audre Lorde talked about it, right? Self care is not self indulgence, but it's actually an act of political warfare, right? Because you have to be alive in order to fight the fight, right? She said it's self preservation, which is an act of political warfare, right? It's very important that we understand that if we're not healthy, we can't help anybody. And it's too many people that are wounded on the battlefield, right? Now you are bleeding on everyone else, right? And no, no one's blaming you for being injured and being harmed. It wasn't your fault that you got hurt. Especially a lot of the time it's in the work that we're doing. But it is your responsibility to get healed. It is your responsibility to get healthy. It is your responsibility to go to therapy, to work out, to eat clean, to fast, to pray, to read your Bible or Quran or whatever religion it is that you practice. It is important for you to heal, and that is your responsibility, right? And for me, as a community, we have to heal. And it starts with yourself, it starts with your family, it starts with your community. A lot of us are trying to change the world, and we don't realize in order to change the world, you have to change yourself. It really does. It's that simple. I know it seems complicated, but it's not. You have to make small incremental changes to yourself before anybody else. And then try to touch one person, right? We live in a world where you want to get thousands of views and thousands of likes and everything so grand. But all you're supposed to really do is be living out your purpose and stop paper chasing. We don't chase anything. We attract everything that we want in our life, right? And so it's just important for us to just take a moment, take a step back, to know that God got our back. I pray that the 4 lessons from Daniel bless your life the way that it blessed my life. And I really pray that we just, shout out to Prince, we emancipate ourselves, we liberate ourselves, so then we can truly help to liberate our people. And that's the journey that I'm on. I want to thank you all for sending your love and support on me getting the Bush Fellowship. Many of you know it's been a 6-year journey for me, 4 attempts. And again, the Bible repeats time and time again to wait on the Lord, wait on the Lord, wait on the Lord. And when we realize that we are not in control and that this is really God and all we need to do is just follow God, life becomes so much more simple. So, again, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Don't Complain, Activate. I am your host, Leslie E. Redmond, here every Saturday at 9 a.m. with replays during the week sometime. You all can also follow me on social media, Leslie E. Redmond, on everything. God bless you all. Grace and peace.